Okay.
But if you close your eyes.
Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. For those of you who are new, my name is Kayla. For those of you who aren't new, welcome back. Okay, so I haven't done a video, this sort of a video, in a very long time. I feel like it's been like a year almost. I'll go check, but I think it's been almost a year that I have sit down and filmed a video that is sort of makeup related. As you guys know, I've taken a little bit of a break away from those sort of YouTube videos and just sorted myself and my life out a bit, and then I started doing a few vlogs, and most of them are in Afrikaans. So the last time that I've sat down and did an English video, it's quite a long time ago. So if I'm a bit uncomfortable in front of the camera, then I'm very sorry. So I really hope the camera, you know, everything's right, the lighting, the angle, the whatever. I haven't done this sort of thing such a long time, but okay. So I'm coming at you guys today with my updated everyday makeup routine. The last one I did, the first one I did, was also the last one, and that was definitely more than a year ago, I think. So I'm very embarrassed to say that out loud. So I'm going to show you guys my updated everyday makeup routine. It's going to be basically exactly the same steps and stuff. There hasn't been a lot of things that I've changed, maybe just the products that I use and so on and so forth. So I really hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you haven't subscribed already, hit the subscribe button and hit the little notification bell so that I can irritate you in your comments more often. And if you like the video, give it a thumbs up, leave some comments, whatever you guys want to do. And be sure to go and check out some of my other videos, some of my other vlogs and things. I will link them down below or have a card or at the end of the video or whatever. Let's just get started. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do is do some moisturizer. So I am using currently the Johnson's Face Care Daily Essentials Hydrating 24-Hour Day Cream with SPF 15 for normal skin. Just this little tub. And I just picked this up the other day at Clicks because I ran out of my normal moisturizer and I needed a new one, and I saw this one and I thought, well, it'll hit the bill and it's quite nice. So I'm just going to put that all over the face. My skin's been so dry because we are going into the winter season here in South Africa, so we're sort of we rarely have like spring and autumn. We sort of go from super sunny and like 38 degrees Celsius to like rainy and cloudy and gloomy and cold and like 13 degrees Celsius. So I guess we're still in autumn, but you know, like today it's hot because it's like rainy and like humid, but this morning it was freezing. So my skin has just not been liking the weather, I guess. Okay, then I'm going to just put on some lip balm before we start. This is the Maybelline Clear Lip Balm. Just this little pot, and this stuff is amazing. It hydrates your lips for so long. I usually put this on like right before bed, and when I wake up in the morning, my lips are still like sticky and tacky of it. So it really keeps them hydrated. Okay, and then since my skin hasn't been all the best, I'm just going to use a little bit of primer just for these pores and dry spots here and there. So I'm going to use the Maybelline Baby Skin Instant Pore Eraser. And I'm just going to put this in these areas, sort of in the T-zone. And just really press it into the skin. Okay, and then depending on how much time I have in the morning, I would either do my brows before or after foundation. If I have a lot of time and I can really like do my brows before and shape them with some concealer, then I would do that like I'm going to do now. Otherwise, if I don't have time, then I would literally just put on my foundation, concealer and everything, and then just quickly fill in my brows if I don't have time to shape them. But since I have time now for this video, I'm going to do that. So I got them tinted the other day. The shape is a bit wonky at this stage. I'm trying to grow them out here to just make a little bit more of an arch. So they're a bit not exactly as I want them, but they will get there. And then I am going to use my Morphe 35C palette, and I'm going to use this ash brown shade, which I absolutely adore, here at the top. And I'm just going to fill in my brows with this shade. It's the perfect shade for me. It doesn't have any like red undertones or anything, and it's not too dark and it's not too light, because a lot of times when I use like a blonde shade, it's like for really like light blondes. It's, as you guys can see, like I'm pretty dark here at my roots. I have a very dark blonde, so I really need a darker color. And then if you go darker, then it comes out with like a red undertone, which I really don't like. So this is just like the perfect shade for me. And I do this very roughly because I don't want them to be too precisely filled in and structured. I still want them to be like very like natural and feathery. So I literally just fill in the gaps and a little bit in the front just to give everything the same color. And yes, I can never get my brows to look the same. There's always one on the day that I prefer rather than the other one that just came out better, and it constantly changes from one brow to the other. So like I like this one shape a bit better, but sometimes this one comes out better, so I don't know. It's a constant struggle, as brows are most of the time. So I just try to get them a little bit more even. And then I'm going to go in with some concealer. This is the Wet n Wild concealer. The Wet n Wild Photo Focus concealer in the shade Light Ivory. This one's almost finished, but I've already bought a new one. So we'll see how long this one lasts. So I just take some of that just underneath my brow and on top. I never used to carve out my brows, and this is a very like light coverage concealer, so it doesn't make them like extremely snatched, but it gets the job done. It really does make a difference. I always thought like, oh, is that really necessary? Does that really make a difference? It does. Even if you have like a very natural face of makeup, it still makes a difference. You don't only need to do this when you do a full face. So then I just sort of take it into the shape. It's time consuming, so if you don't have time for this, don't even bother. As you guys can see, because I sort of screwed it up over here, and now I have to go back and fix it. And then I just take a little sponge and just dab the rest of it into the skin, just so that it doesn't have such extremely sharp lines and edges. Okay. And as you guys can see, like my skin's already getting dry again right here in the middle of my eyebrows, but that's fine. I mean, that's life. I always like see these guys, like these beauty gurus on YouTube, and their skin looks so amazing, but they've all got like filters and full coverage foundations and stuff, and you can't really see very up close like how their pores and their skin and their dry patches look. But I'm sure they also have it, like all us normal human beings. So for foundation, I am going to use the Wet n Wild Photo Focus foundation. This is the Fond de Tint, which is just basically like a very light coverage. It's sort of like a tinted moisturizer, but not moisturizing. It's just a tint in the shade Nude Ivory. So I thought this was going to be a bit better coverage, but it is extremely light, but that's fine. I don't mind it. but it does oxidize a bit. I thought this was going to be too light for me, but this was the shade closest to my shade, and I was so afraid that it was going to sort of like whitewash me. But it does oxidize a bit, and it's such light coverage that it really won't like take away from your natural like shade, if I can say it like that. And then I'm just gonna take my sponge, just sort of push it into the skin. I really need to get myself a new foundation brush, like a blending a flat top, sort of a kabuki brush or something, because I had this brush, where is it? This one, which was amazing, but of course it was a cheap one, and this is what happened. So I can't use that anymore, and I really enjoyed using that sort of a brush, so I really want to get me a new one, because I'm not really a big fan of blending my foundation out completely with a sponge. I like to blend it out with a brush and then just go in with a sponge afterwards, just to press it into the skin. But a girl's got to do what a girl's got to do with what she has. And then I'm going to go back in with that same concealer, and I'm just going to put this underneath my eyes. I have to say the coverage of the concealer is not that bad. It's most definitely no like Tarte Shape Tape or those sort of things that are like extremely pigmented and high coverage, but that's fine for an everyday. Where I'm from, like, it's really not necessary to be extremely full coverage. So as long as it just sort of blurs it out, makes it just looks a little bit more presentable, then that, I guess that's fine. I'm just going to blend that out. Most of the products that I'm using are like drugstore and very like cheap and affordable. I would say I think the most expensive things that I'm using are from Benefit and the Morphe palette. The rest are really inexpensive brands, which you can easily get at the drugstore, at Clicks or Dischem, or wherever you like to buy your makeup, or at Red Square. Okay, and then I'm going to use the Essence All About Matte Fixing Compact Powder. This is the translucent one, and I'm going to take my sponge and just swirl it in there, getting it onto the sponge, and then just sort of press it into the skin underneath my eyes and on my eyelids where I put the concealer, because this I really don't want it to crease. So just want to make sure you set that properly. And I do put on just a little bit more because I'm going to let it bake for just a few seconds, not too long because my skin is dry, but just to make sure that the concealer doesn't budge too much throughout the day. Then I'm going to, while I'm waiting for that powder to bake, I'm going to go in with the Essence Lash and Brow Gel Mascara, and I'm just going to quickly set my brows, just to make sure they stay in place throughout the whole day. Then I'm going to just take a brush and brush away the excess powder, and then just use a little bit more of that powder just to set over the rest of the face. Just very lightly, just so that the powders that we put on top don't go patchy. Okay, then I'm going to start bronzing, and I'm going to use, of course, the Hoola bronzer by Benefit. This is, of course, one of the all-time favorites, and I have not yet tried another bronzer because this guy has lasted me, as you guys can see there, this pan has lasted me a year and a half almost. I bought this last year, January, like January 2017 is when I bought this bronzer, and I use it every single day and it still isn't empty yet. So when this goes empty, I think I will probably try like a few good bronzers that, you know, other people have suggested and those sort of things, but I think I will in any case just jump right back to this one, because even though it isn't like a drugstore brand and it is more like of an expensive, it's not a very expensive brand, but it is more expensive than your usual drugstore brands. So I know that, but for the use you get out of it and how perfect it is with my skin and how much I love it, I think it is worth the extra bucks. So I think I will in any case just go right back and repurchase this one, because I think when you like find this sort of a product, you just don't ever go back to using anything else. And I like to just put bronzer sort of everywhere just to warm up, because I'm so pale. I just like to bronze everywhere. And then moving on to blush, this is a blush from Essence in the shade 20 Satin Love. This is a satin soft blush, and I'm just going to use a little bit of this. I'm not a huge blush fan, but I like these sort of just like a subtle hint of colour. And then for the eyes, it depends on the day. Sometimes I will only use the same bronzer on my eyes, or I will use some blush if I'm into a pinky sort of a vibe. I don't know what I want to do today, but sometimes I will even do sort of like an orangey tint, like some of these colors here. So I think the one that I use the most is probably like the bronzer one. So I think I'm going to show you guys that one, since that is basically like my everyday thing. So I just take some of that bronzer on this Essence blending brush, just a big fluffy brush, and I just sort of take it through the crease very light-handedly, and then bring it onto the lid very gently. And then if I'm feeling fancy, I would just throw on a little bit of a shimmery shade into the inner part of the lid, just sort of like a light wash, just to make things a little bit more fun. And then I take this little tiny brush, I'm just going to dab it into the bronzer and just take it down underneath my lower lash line, just to balance out the look. And then for mascara, I've been using a combination of two. I'm using the Roller Lash by Benefit and the Get Big Lashes Volume Boost from Essence. Now usually I would use the Roller Lash first, because that really gives the curl, and then whatever second, I always use the Benefit one, and then I use some other mascara on top of that. But the problem with this one is it is very liquidy, and when I use this as the second coat, then it really comes off here at the top of your eyelid and it smudges throughout the day. So I like to put this one on first, the Essence one, and just to give it that volume and blackness. And I really like to concentrate it on the outer part of the eye, just to give it that little like flayed flick sort of a look. And I really take my time on building the lashes up, because if your lashes looks good, it just sort of finishes the whole look. I go over it with the Benefit Roller Lash, and I try to put it at the top of the lashes as well, just to prevent it from smudging onto the eyelid too much during the day. And I just sort of flick it through my lashes just to get that curl. And as you guys can see, it already like has those little like dots and sparks on the lid, but that's fine, we'll fix it. Or some days I just leave it there, because who gives a shit. But okay, for the sake of the video, I will most probably clean it. So the most important thing is to just leave it, let it dry, because if you try to clean it while it's wet, you're just going to make a bigger mess of things than there already is. So give it time, let it dry, and then it's much easier to remove. Use the Roller Lash on my lower lashes as well. And then lastly, for the face, I'm going to go in with a highlight. So this is a highlight from e.l.f. It is the Moonlight Pearl highlight. And I just take a little bit of that on a brush and just put it on high points of my face, cheekbones, temples. Okay, sorry guys, so my camera stopped recording as I sort of thought that it would, because this is my vlogging camera, it's not my usual filming camera, so it sometimes stops. I think it gets too hot or something, and it's not the battery, it's not the memory, it just sort of like stops recording and just shuts down. So basically I was still talking about the highlight, and then I just popped some into my inner corner and onto my brow bone, and I just put on a lip gloss, which is this Colors Limited lip gloss in the shade Celestial, a very pretty sort of a sheeny nude pink shade. I guess that's it. I forgot now to end this sort of a video, but okay, if you guys liked it, give it a thumbs up, subscribe, hit the notification bell, and I will see you guys very soon. Thanks for watching. Cheers.